This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Now that we have a better understanding as to how PR works, when I look at these tabloid covers and understand that likely it's the PR teams for the palace and the royals, it sort of takes away that sparkle of the royal family. It really does. It actually cheapens it for me. These headlines are so stupid. And today I saw on the cover of Heat magazine from the UK this ridiculous headline: Meghan tells Kate, "We're in charge now." I want to read this to you because it's laughable. Now that we understand that the royals or their PR firms are definitely behind these narratives that keep cranking out almost on a weekly basis, it just now becomes one giant circus. You really can't take anything that's being put out there about the royal family seriously because it is tightly controlled. There's no way these magazines would be able to get away with publishing this garbage if there wasn't approval somewhere. Like, they want us to think that they have nothing to do with it, but we know that they do. Just because, they control everything. Like, it's so manipulative and deceitful that it's actually become quite pathetic. And the whole purpose is really just keeping them relevant. When you think about it, smug Meghan. We don't need William and Kate's approval. The Sussexes are in charge now and getting ready for a royal return. For the past 6 years, they've been the pariahs of Buckingham Palace, but that all changed after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's meeting with King Charles and Queen Camilla last month. So now they're reinforcing this narrative of Harry and Meghan meeting with the king last month, but still no evidence that that meeting ever really took place, aside from what these royal reporters had been told by the palace what to write about. I don't care what the so-called sources of the media outlets and the so-called influencers have to say about this. Unless there is evidence, we don't have an obligation to believe anything that we're being told, given the fact that they've broken that trust of reporting nothing but lies these past 10 years. But anyway, I digress. Recent reports indicate the Sussexes are very much back in the fold, with Charles said to be extending an invite to Sandringham for Christmas and even considering a future for them as part-time working royals. Now, you all know why I like to read these is because they always give us these little seeds that they like to plant to guide us in the direction that they want us, away from focusing on the other stuff. And the biggest blessing of all? They've done it without the approval of the Prince and Princess of Wales, who are still refusing to forgive and forget. No wonder we're told that Meghan is feeling smug about finally being in the driving seat. It's become increasingly clear they don't need William and Kate's approval, which has really boosted Meghan's confidence. The fact that Charles is working so hard to put this rift in the past and lay the groundwork for their future, not just for Harry and Meghan, but for their children, is hugely satisfying, says an insider close to Harry and Meghan, who have yet to publicly comment on taking Archie Markle 7 and little Betty Markle 5 to meet the king last month, reportedly in a bid to prove they respect his wishes to keep things discreet. The reason why Meghan is being discreet is because there was no meeting. There was no evidence that this meeting ever took place. Both Meghan and Harry believe that both William and Kate went out of their way to make life as difficult as possible for them and tried to block a reconciliation at every turn. Ultimately, they failed, so Meghan and Harry feel vindicated. That being said, they would still very much like to have a better relationship with William and Kate. But even if that never happens, they believe they and their children now have a place within the family. There was once a time when the Sussexes and the Waleses were on solid ground, in public at least, with the couples earning the nickname the Fab Four. But sadly, that changed dramatically after Harry and Meghan stepped down as senior royals in 2020, sparking the royal rift that has only deepened. You know how they continue to keep reminding us? I mean, it's 6 years later and they're still telling us that they stepped down in 2020. Like, we know. The biggest source of contention was the accusations Harry and Meghan made about the Wales' behavior towards them. In their 2021 tell-all interview with Oprah Winfrey, Meghan accused Kate of making her cry in a disagreement about Princess Charlotte's bridesmaid dress for her 2018 wedding, contradicting reports at the time that it was Meghan who made Kate cry. As I'm listening to myself read this out loud, I can't understand how this so-called drama between Catherine and Meghan is still continuing 6 years later. Who gives a shit who made who cry? What are we, 5? After everything that we have been through and have witnessed in this circus, it makes you wonder, is this feud between William and Catherine and Meghan and Harry really real? You look at it, it's petty shit. The article continues saying, William was also in the firing line as Harry accused his older brother, who he described as his arch nemesis, of physically attacking him in a row over Meghan. Since then, the Sussexes have toned down their criticism of the royals, and Harry has made it his mission to reintegrate himself into the family fold. Well, after Donald Trump won, he has no choice. I think the problem that most of us suffer from is we're too distracted by all the drama and chaos that Harry and Meghan bring. But when you strip that away and you look at the timing of when certain things happen, you can definitely correlate that back to the political climate here in the United States. Harry is making this declaration on his BBC interview after he loses his security case that he wants to reconcile with his father. That makes total sense because you no longer are being favored here in the United States under this administration. Didn't I call it on how Harry and Meghan's behavior was going to shift when USAID was cut off, especially with how they were going to operate Archwell? You notice how quickly Meghan abandoned the Welcome Project once the Minnesota fraud came out and James Holt bolted back to the UK? But we're just going to continue on with this bullshit of how Harry is desperate to reconcile with his family because he misses his old life. Okay. Anyway, to finish up this ludicrous article, now it seems he's got his wish, with whispers that Charles might even reinstate him into royal life in the half-in, half-out arrangement they had asked for prior to Megxit. And we're told Meghan believes they're in a stronger position than ever. For Meghan, the way William and Kate are behaving just proves that she and Harry were never the problem, says our insider. She's always believed that they were singled out and bullied by a large majority of the family, aided and abetted by William and Kate. It's obvious to her that they've been poisoning everybody against her and Harry for years. It's nothing short of a miracle that she and Harry have managed to rebuild their relationship with Charles. I think many of you will agree that this article does sound like this came from the Sussex side, but the palace is aligned and involved. Now look at this in the United States. Here Meghan is on the cover of the National Enquirer looking like an absolute idiot. One thing out of many that I find absolutely shameful about this manipulation and con that they have put the public through is this exploitation of Diana. And what's truly vulgar about these people is how they've weaponized Diana's memory in order to trigger the public. Psychologically, it just makes it that much more manipulative and deceitful. And that's because the royals went along with it. There were many instances where Charles and the Queen could have put their foot down, but they chose not to. Sure, it probably does hurt William, because remember, that was his mother too. But if this whole Harry and Meghan scam was a covert mission, there really wasn't much he could do. I say this again, you almost have to wonder, with all of the threats that the Sussex squad were putting out there about William and Catherine and their children, why didn't William do anything about it? When you think about how aggressive the UK's hate laws are, it would have been easy for him to pick up the phone at the Met and say, look, I need for you to investigate these so-called accounts that have made these concerning posts. We all know that the UK loves to lock people up. We know that the royal family has the power to get stuff shut down. So why didn't they take action on the most vile Sussex squad troll accounts? Could it be maybe William and Catherine knew that they weren't really a threat? I really don't know. It's just a theory that I'm putting out there. When you think about it, Catherine and William's children are young, so highly doubtful they're on social media. So anything that was being said about the Wales' kids, they wouldn't have seen it. It does make you wonder, after everything that we have witnessed and have gone through. Like, why not? Yeah, why couldn't that be a possibility? I think we can agree that we really don't know the real story. We really don't. The closest to the truth that you have is what I talk about on this channel. Always keep in the back of your head this question: why do they not touch the things that I talk about? It's not like it didn't happen. It's not like I'm making it up. Why don't they talk about it? Especially British national Niall Gardner from the Heritage Foundation. Do you know how many times people contact him and tell him what Harry's doing? And he's ignored every single one. But he has no problem amplifying the stupidity of Meghan Markle. That should tell you enough, right there. Yeah, I hate to say it, but the British establishment, not the good people of the UK, but the British establishment is not the United States' friend. But what's even more disappointing and disheartening is that the British establishment is not even the British citizens' friend. And when I say the British establishment, I'm including the royal family in that. Before I go, I want to go ahead and share something that I came across on X that I found incredibly disturbing. The mere fact that I have to censor this post for this platform infuriates me. This is a legit crisis here. I can't even say the word because I know that it's going to trigger the algorithm, but look at that number. 74,727. So in order to understand the severity of this problem, like really wrap your brain around how bad this is, let me go ahead and show you some statistics. What I find really upsetting here is that this number of 74,700 is what they know of. Think about all the women that don't report this. I would say that that number is vastly higher. When you look at this chart, it definitely correlates to the rise in invaders that are taking over the UK. I mean, what other explanation is there? But what's truly disturbing is the amount of young females under the age of 13 being affected this way. And we know that this number is a lot higher because think about how many are afraid to come forward. Looking at this number of 51,583 females starting at the age of 13 that in some way, some form have been messed with. This was in the year of 2024 and 2025 that they recorded this. We all see that the number is not going down. So to help everybody understand how serious this situation is in the United Kingdom, I went ahead and did a comparison between the United States and their reported cases versus what was being reported in the UK. Now, I understand that the United States has a population of 340 million versus the population of the UK. So what I had to do was I took 20% of the amount of cases that were being reported to represent that so-called population. And it turns out that when you do that, England and Wales is 3 times higher than what is going on in the United States. And that should tell you that that's pretty bad. I mean, it's actually really bad. So think about this. 127,527 cases were reported in 2024, but that's out of a population of 340 million. When you look at the 75,000 on a 69 million population, the ratio is terrible. Couple that with the size of the actual country. Like, we know that the United States is big. Compare that with the UK, and you look at the density of 69 million. How can women and children not be frightened? Like, this just happened today. A little girl was playing in a park. And yet, the royal family, who's all about charity and humanitarian work, ignores all of it. How is that acceptable? And why is that acceptable? You see, but the thing is, we know that the royal family doesn't want to be asked those questions. So that's why we are constantly being distracted and saturated with nothing but garbage about this family. And that's what makes this so maddening to me, is that they took the public for fools. They took us as stupid, which for the most part we were, because for the last 10 years, we have been going along with the hope that the royal family was going to do the right thing. But as we all saw, they did nothing. While we were distracted with the noise and nonsense and drama, not only were all of our countries being invaded, but also our money being siphoned, as well as, the most important, our freedoms being taken away. We see that the UK does not have free speech anymore. The United States' First Amendment is under threat, all because we have a UK prince on US soil and his friends trying to mirror the same framework that is being seen in the UK. And it should infuriate everybody that it's with the blessing of Pa. Because topics like this that you're seeing here, they don't want anybody talking about. You can't talk about the M word. That's why I haven't said it. But we know that the uptick in all of these offenses is because of that. But you're not allowed to talk about it because YouTube is abiding by whatever the UK government is telling them to do. We know that they're doing it for the royals. And that's what makes this all so infuriating, because I don't want the royal family's influence here in the United States. As far as I can tell, whatever they're pushing there with this globalist agenda has been so destructive. As an American, I don't need to be loyal to the royal family, especially seeing how Papa Chuck has not been defending the faith. There's no reason for me to be sycophantic over this family. Now, it's fine to admire them from afar, but I don't want their globalist influence here in America, especially after seeing what Harry has been doing here with the blessing of the palace. I don't want any of it. I've lost a lot of respect for this family and institution because of what is going on, especially with these women and children. I think it's absolutely weak that the monarchy has done absolutely nothing to put a stop to the abuse of these women and children. They support hundreds of charities, but not one of them is focused on putting a stop or helping victims of the grooming gangs. Not one. What does that tell you? As we see with all of these NGOs and charities, they are the ones with the power. They're the ones that make the influence. Why do you think the royal family has so many of them that they support? Now you get it? So when people say, oh, the royal family don't get involved in politics, they stay above it. No, they don't. They're in the thick of it, but just behind the scenes in the thick of it. Anyway, sorry to go off on that little rant. I just really wanted to present to you the daily slop that we are being fed. And it does look like they are continuing on to bring this jackass home, which I can't wait for him to get out of this country. But what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
It was such a fraud.